Now we're going to move on to the fourth value, which is called null. Similarly, how we've learned that Boolean can be a value of true or false, null in this case simply has one value, which is null. Null in this case simply means nothing. So let me show you or share with you a scenario where you're going to be writing these kind of programs where the value could be null. So think about you're writing an application where you need to store the user's first name, middle name, and last name. Let's say the user does not have a middle name. So in your database or in your software, you're going to actually write the value of the middle name as null. So if I enter null and hit enter, the computer, the JavaScript engine recognizes null is a value. That's all it is. So in your real world example, you're going to be basically in your middle name section for that particular user, you're going to set the value as null because that user does not have a middle name. That brings me to the fifth data type, which is called undefined. And just like null, undefined only has one value, which is undefined. So I'm going to simply write it, all right, and hit enter, and that's a value. Now, you may be thinking undefined and null kind of look the same, right? And, I totally understand they do, but there's just one difference, right? So null, on our example of, let's say, the middle name was the user does not have a middle name, so you will be treating that as a null value. But in case the user has a middle name and the user forgot to provide that middle name, then you would call that particular value undefined, meaning the user did not define that value. Or maybe he doesn't have it, or maybe he has a middle name, doesn't matter, but the user forgot to fill out those fields. So you're going to manage that particular scenario as undefined because the user did not define it, or as the programmer, you did not define a particular value. We're going to get into examples later, but this is a good example for now. The sixth data type is actually called symbol. And that's actually a new data type which is introduced in JavaScript very recently. Now I want to share with you that the symbol data type does not have many use cases. The only reason it was invented in JavaScript very recently is to have it used as the key of an object. So we have not looked at objects yet. So once we get to the object section, I'm going to actually tell you the only one use case the symbol data type has. But for now, just recognize that the symbol value is not very important for everyday use, and it has a very limited use case. So most of the time throughout this course, we may not have a need to use the symbol type, but it's there. So just to type it out, you would write symbol like this, and in brackets, you're going to provide whatever string. Let's say I can provide Aziz, and that's basically a string. That's all it is. All right, I can put some numbers over here as well, and that's basically it. It's just a symbol that's created. That's pretty much it. So one last thing for this particular lesson I want to tell you is that the first 6 types that we have discussed are called primitive types. Primitive basically means that these 6 types in JavaScript has only one kind of value. So whether it be a string has some characters, numbers is just some numbers, Boolean is either true or false, null is just null value, undefined is undefined, and symbol is just some kind of symbol, right? So basically it just has one value. So that's these first 6 types are actually called primitive types because they have only one value. Now that we have the basics down for the first 6 types, I'm going to talk to you in the next video where we're going to learn about objects. So talk to you in the next lesson.